What's happening, guys? The costume for Spider-Man Reboot, that's what we are thinking about right now, right? Everybody wants to know what costume Spidey will wear and what type of changes they will make to the Amazing Spider-Man 2 costume. Well, obviously, Marvel's take on Spider-Man, they will have to stay faithful to the comics, yet they have to do some changes. And first thing, personally, the Amazing Spider-Man 2 costume for me is a perfection. Is the definitive Spidey suit, the logo, eye lenses, and the size of eye lenses, and overall it's just the definitive Spider-Man suit. It's very tough to imagine how are they going to improve that, and what they will do different. And obviously, as much as we like the Amazing Spider-Man 2 costume, they will go with a different suit. Now, what type of suit or what type of changes? With Marvel, first of all, with the Amazing Spider-Man 1 reboot, we've got a completely new suit. People called it a much cheaper version of a Spidey suit, something which Peter Parker could definitely make himself according to his budget. But let's be honest here, the Amazing Spider-Man 1 costume was... the reason it was so different is obviously for the sake of change, for the sake of differ from Raimi's trilogy as far as possible. It's like one of the many things, like bringing Peter's parents' story. If you remember, the very first trailer for the Amazing Spider-Man 1 forced us this new untold story thing with the Peter's parents. The reason they bring Peter's parents' storyline is obviously to differ from Raimi's trilogy, to let the audience know, the general audience, average moviegoers, that this is not the continuation. This is not a replacement for Tobey Maguire and a continuation from Spider-Man 3, same franchise. This is completely new thing. Now, this suit, same thing goes with the costume. It's just for the sake of change, for the sake of making it new. That's why it was so different. And then with the Amazing Spider-Man 2, they went with the more faithful suit, faithful to the comics. So that being said, obviously we'll get a new costume once again. What type of changes we will see? Now, my personal bet, first of all, is... by the way, what you're looking here at right now is one of my favorite Spider-Man games, Spider-Man 2000. If you haven't played it yet, you better play it right now. This is a classic. So what type of costume? First of all, raised webbing. Something tells me they won't go with the raised webbing over the costume. The webbing, the actual webbing will be probably part of the design. It won't be... it won't raise that much, won't be some sort of rubber net all over the costume. Most likely it will be painted. Most likely it will be part of the actual template texture. I can almost guarantee that something tells me that that's what they will go with. Obviously, the logo will be different. I'd say if you want to check out the Amazing Spider-Man 2 logo, pretty much, if you remember, when they revealed the Amazing Spider-Man 2 suit, one of the major complaints there, people on the comments, articles were actually, "Oh, Sam Raimi called, he wants his suit back." People instantly thought of Raimi's suit. They had their reasons to believe that. For the logo is pretty similar to Raimi's suit, the Amazing Spider-Man 2 suit. So they will change the logo. I'd say it will be much smaller logo of Spidey logo, something really small one on his chest. Definitely smaller version. Todd McFarlane's Spider-Man, something like that. Ultimate Spidey's logo, smaller in size. Once again, it won't be raised all over the costume. It will be most likely part of the texture. That's my personal bet. Eye lenses, definitely, probably they will go with something bigger, a little bit bigger, a little bit. The black stripes, actual black stripes. Over the lenses probably will be bigger. It will be more of a black, less of a white, more of a Romita Spidey's costume, and huge lenses. I'm not telling that they will go with the smaller lenses like they went with the Amazing Spider-Man 1, but more black and a little bit less of a white. Also very important to mention is the blue tone of the blue on this suit. I'd say they will go with most likely with as much as people want. I've been reading some discussions over the internet. Some people really want to go with them to go with the much darker blue color of blue, shade of blue. Once again, bringing McFarlane's Spidey blue, black. Depends on the lighting. At some panels, it looked like it's really black. And if McFarlane's Spidey doesn't ring a bell, Alex Ross, original costume, the concept artwork for Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 1, Spidey did feature more of a black and blue tone. For the reboot, for the third reboot, something tells me they might. Well, they will go with a much lighter tone, blue tone, in comparison to the Amazing Spider-Man 2, or they will go with the much darker. It's Marvel once again. We have to realize that they will make it somewhat realistic. Even though it's Spidey, but like Falcon suit. If you compare Falcon suit, his original suit, and what we've got in the movie, more of a high tech. You can call the Amazing Spider-Man suit a little bit of a high tech, if you will. Especially the web shooters. They're like they get red lights. There's a smoke coming out of them. Well, we'll mention web shooters a little bit later. So yeah, I'm pretty sure Marvel, it will be either a much lighter tone or a much darker tone for Spidey. And something tells me that since they're going with a much younger version of Peter Parker, the blue tone will be much lighter. More of a, color of life, enjoyment and fun and all these spicy tones. Most likely will be a light blue. So, smaller logo, eye lenses will feature more of a black around them, and the color of blue will be much lighter. Back logo, this is tricky. I don't know. A lot of people, including myself personally, really want to see the original Spidey's logo. Somewhat different, of course, obviously not exactly the same one, the back logo, but something tells me might be more of a classic design. Would make sense. It's Marvel's, people call it Spidey Got Back Home, so why not go with the original? Some people also want the belt, which doesn't make sense for me, but I don't really see why they would use Spidey's belt. Spidey's signal. They still can add belt, but it will be it will be under the costume, including Spidey's signal. Some people want Spidey's tracers. All these gadgets and devices, and also Webb Cartridges around his belt. He's like carrying them. The Amazing Spider-Man 1, even though they finally introduced the mechanical web shooters, that's about it. They didn't even explain how exactly Peter... the web shooters montage could have been a lot longer, personally, I think. But that's what we've got, and we still don't know how the hell are they working. So it would be really nice to see the new Spidey change his web cartridges occasionally. Like, oops, I ran out of the web. Hulk catches him, like he caught Iron Man, and Spidey doesn't fall down to his death, and then, oh, alright, thanks, I better change my web shooters. Boom, he changes his web cartridges, and he takes one of them, which is placed on his belt. Would make sense. I really want to see something like that, and I want Spidey to improvise with his webbing more. Once again, get him back to early Steve Ditko's issues, first like 30 issues of the Amazing Spider-Man 1. By the end of each issue, Stan Lee, Ditko, and the crew almost always threw a page just explaining how exactly, what exactly is on Spidey's costume, his belt. One of the issue featured one of the last pages was explaining what Spidey can do with his web shooters, like he created snowboard out of it, the parachute, and stuff like that. Correct me if I am wrong, but Spidey did save Jameson's son in the very first issue, featuring the Amazing Spider-Man 1, featuring Fantastic Four, featuring Chameleon, and he actually used this huge web net, to catch the capsule, to land it safely on the Earth. So I would definitely want to see more of an improvisation with the webbing, not like creating skateboard out of the web, but something interesting there, like something like a parachute or something, to catch some citizen which is falling, or some stuff like that. We've seen Spidey creating these huge webs in the original Raimi's trilogy, catching a car, saving civilians. That's really nice. Spidey's webbing is one of his most important arsenal, honestly, and he should really rely on his webbing more, not so much on other powers, more of a webbing. And Spidey sense, obviously, very curious, a little bit out of topic. How exactly are they going to portray Spidey sense? In previous films, Raimi's trilogy, Webb's trilogy, it was this weird sound in his head, like something's going on. How are they going to portray Spidey sense in the new reboot? Will we get something like we've got in the comics, some weird stuff over his head, like brrr, tingling? My Spidey sense is tingling. I really love the portrayal of Spidey sense in Spider-Man's 90s cartoon, with this old stuff, glowing around him, like something's wrong, that was really cool. And alright, getting back to costume, yeah, the Webb Cartridges. Of course, they will go. I've been reading a bunch of articles on the internet. Somebody suggested that the question was whether they should use the organics or the mechanical. Obviously, they will go with the mechanical. For God's sake, Spider-Man is part of Marvel. They won't go with the organic webbing. Even though Spidey did have organic webbing at some point in the comics, I think it was the other storyline, but it was very permanent. Eventually, he got back to his web shooters. But he did mutate. He did grew a pair of organic web shooters. So they will go with the mechanical ones, obviously. What else? The red and blue, once again, I'm pretty sure will be more a lighter tone and no raised webbing. And eye lenses feature more of a black, more of a Romita Spidey. And the original logo would be really nice on his back, obviously. The new Spidey, this much younger version, will be more of a slim. It won't be really. I can almost guarantee it won't be bulked up version like we've got in the Sam Raimi's trilogy. Andrew was more of a slimmer, more of a skinnier version. Then we might go even with a more skinnier, more slimmer version for a new Peter Parker, who definitely won't be bulked up like Hulk. He's a teenager, just a teenager, so Spidey will be more slimmer. That's for sure. Looking at the Amazing Spider-Man 2 suit, a bunch of tweaks here and there. The actual part of the belt and his gloves might have some variations there, different angles, and stuff like that. And that's probably about it. That's the type of changes they will make. And they have to make changes. This is a new Spidey, new reboot, and obviously there will be a new suit. One thing to mention, I want Spidey to stay with his costume for as long as it's possible. I don't want to bring every single Spidey film, his solo film, every single appearance in the MCU as a guest with a different suit. That's just, I don't want that. I want Spidey to keep up with his costume, Let's say by the time of the third film, maybe there will be some changes, slight changes, but overall I want him to keep with his suit. Talking about eye lenses, whether they should be reflective or not, once again, pretty tricky. I'd say no reflective eye lenses, but I will probably get a lot of hate for it. I don't really want them to reflect anything. I want them just be white, period. That's it. We've got the Raimi's costume was eye lenses were pretty much of a glass made. They were pretty reflective, like mirror. Even though once again tricky. Some scenes show them being really reflective. We could see, in the Sam Raimi Spider-Man 1, there was this scene with Spidey shooting the web, and Spider-Man appearing in New York City montage, and we could see the whole city in his eye lenses. And then a bunch of scenes there, it looked like they're just white and that's it. They're not reflective. I guess it depends on the lighting and overall, but I don't want them to be reflective. More of a, just white period. So that's pretty much it. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 suit was a perfection, but they still can do a few changes and not piss a lot of fans off, and they still can be faithful, make it faithful to the comics. Doesn't really need a lot of change, that much of a change. Just more of a black around the eye lenses, classic logo on the back, maybe Spider-Man's belt with the Webb Cartridges and the Spidey signal beneath the suit, not above the suit, but actually under the suit, and the logo on his chest, much of a smaller logo, just black and no raised webbing. Oh yeah, of course, the web shooters are obviously more of a retro, classic look of the web shooters, classic web shooters, I'd say, with the... Oh, here's the thing also, the web cartridges. I did say they could be around his belt, or of course they can be actually around his wrist, on his leather belt, or whatever will be around his wrist, however the web shooters will look like. Web cartridges can be attached around his wrist. So here's the suggestions, and here's how they can Spidey can carry them without placing them on his belt, and actually belt might be not needed. What are your suggestions, guys? What type of suit changes in comparison to the Amazing Spider-Man 2 you would like to see, and do you think they will go with a completely different design, or just a random Spidey suit faithful to the comics, a few changes from the Amazing Spider-Man 2 suit, and that's about it? Do you think it will be more of a lighter colors or darker colors? Once again, it's a matter of taste, and for Marvel, for this realistic universe. Also, if you look at other suits, Captain America's first Avenger suit, all these colors, and pretty much was if you think about it, they could have went with the realistic version. They went with the Winter Soldier, darker colors, not so bright. They still went with the colorful version for the first Captain America. So who knows what they will bring us with Spidey. Once again, Sony will still play a part in all of this. We don't know about exactly who has the final voice in terms of creative control, but Sony will play some part in this whole decision, obviously. So tell me your thoughts, guys. A completely new suit, or more of the Amazing Spider-Man suit, more of a faithful to the comic suit with a bit of changes? Thanks for watching, and I'm out for now.